Thank you. All right, everybody. First off, thanks for being here again. I want to welcome my buddy. He's with Compass in Old Town, right? Yep. John Winstead is coming here to give you guys some knowledge. Thank you. Have a seat, brother. Thank you. Man, thank you so much. I've been trying to get John to at least come in and talk to us about, I'm big on everybody's story, right? And I tell you guys my story all the time. And if you can, real quick, before we dive into the questions that I gave you, would you just tell me your story a little bit?
Well, I grew up in Alexandria, so that's the place where I focus on working. That's where I know everybody. I managed car dealerships for a number of years. I did that for about 15 years. Sales management, finance management, things along those lines. I was just speaking to somebody else earlier and telling them I worked probably 9 to 9, 6 days a week for about 15 years. Every Memorial Day barbecue, everybody's getting together, having fun. And I'm in the dealership with everybody that didn't get invited to the Memorial Day barbecues. So it was not a pleasant experience. And that kind of drove me toward real estate. One day I took a week off. I went down to Tom Sclopin's office, which is the Century 21 on Telegraph Road. Told my boss I'm taking a vacation. And I took real estate classes. That's how I ended up in real estate. I never finished college. All my friends are off at these big fancy schools and they're doing well. And I would have had to have taken out student loans. I was not mature enough for college at that age. I recognized that. I was mature enough to recognize that. So I went into selling cars for Mike Lindsay at the Lexus dealership in Alexandria. My first year, I made $97,800 some odd dollars. I said, well, this will work for me. I was short-sighted. My career progressed and I did well. And looking back, I wish I had just gone into real estate at the time. And I'd probably be retired right now. But that's kind of sums it up a little bit of how I got into this business and that sort of thing.
So that's an amazing story and transition. And we all understand the hustle and bustle of real estate can be very similar to 9 to 9 in the car business. The reason I asked John to come today is, number one, he does some flips and he made that his main pillar of his business. But one of the things that he did that I noticed, and as in my position, it's my job to notice, plus he's a friend and a neighbor. I saw his business start to go like a little bit down. And then I saw that he's got a brand new car every week, not new, but he loves cars. That's his thing. And he'll get into that. He's got what, how many, 8 or 9?
I'm down to 9.
And they're all like they're all classic or like hard to find. He's a collector. But I noticed that his driveway and our street was more and more crowded, and his business was going sort of not down like this, but just sort of down. And so I was like, wow. And then I follow him on social, and I start to see more time with his daughters, more posts of them at the Children's Museum. See, I watch, I pay attention. I see on Halloween, right? Like I'm pulling up, getting home from work, and he's already out with the wagon and a bourbon in his hand, walking his kids around our neighborhood. And I'm like, man, to me, that's amazing. I got to get John in here to talk about pillars and shifting your business, because family's first, right? So I'm going to ask the normal questions that I ask, and then the floor is yours. So anything you can think of. So he answered that, but how long have you been in real estate?
Well, 8.5 years now.
So he's pushing 8 years. We already talked about what made you decide to get into real estate was the car business was killing you. When you first joined, how long did it take you to close your first deal?
The broker fed me my first deal. So I had my first one closed in about 60 days. That's okay.
Yeah.
My first deal that I generated on my own took about 90 days. And it was out of the area. It was down in Morton. Probably shouldn't have been operating there since I didn't know the area well. But I knew the person well. I was able to do my due diligence and get him top dollar for his house, and we set a record price in the neighborhood when I first sale there.
Nice. Besides starting early, if you could go back in time and tell yourself one thing the day you started real estate, what would it be?
Clients want to hear from you. So if you're not making your calls, the easiest call to make is your past clients. And I don't like making calls. I don't like going into the office, sitting there and making my calls. But if you go in and you make 3 a day or whatever your number is, if you're not making any and you're making 3, that's better than 0, right? If you're making 5, whatever fits your, whatever fits for you is good. But your clients are the best ones to call. So if I had followed up a little bit better with my earlier clients, my book of business would probably be at least triple what it is now. So I think going into the office, at the beginning of my career, if I spent more time in the office and more time just doing the easy calls, the people you've already dealt with, the ones that want to hear from you, it goes the longest way. I work only on referral, so now it would have really helped.
You guys hear that?
Yes.
We talk about that a lot, don't we? It's good to hear it from someone else that has downshifted their business, that they still just want to talk to their past clients. So you answered, where does most of your business come from? Past clients.
That's fine.
Let me ask you this. Do you have any sort of admin support now? I mean, you probably, maybe back then, did you have any?
Not really. I was at Century 21 Redwood for a while and I did a little bit of relocation. Hindsight, that was great to build my business. You're getting 50% of the commission. You're not getting a huge cut working with Cardis and the cut that the broker takes. But yeah, I would say I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
What was that one?
It was about, do you have help? Did you have any help?
No, just a little bit when I was doing relocation.
Like
Even at the
transactions?
height of my career, when I was, doing the most business, I am kind of a control freak when it comes to that sort of thing. So I want to make sure I'm on it and I follow up with every little bit. And I've got it all set in my calendar or even messy little notes that I have in a tiny notebook that I carry around embarrassingly. Yeah, yes, exactly. Just like that. That really does everything for me. And I just stay on top of it. So if you're doing 3-4 deals a month, I would imagine it's great to have an ad. Probably need it. Even then, I was not doing it. I was doing it myself. So,
And that explains where we're trending toward with family time, right? Because you were doing everything yourself instead
Yes.
of leveraging it out, right?
Yep.
And that's cool. Let me ask you this. All of us that have been doing this long have a horror story, like a transaction that just was a nightmare.
Mhm.
What's yours?
wasn't that long ago. So, you're gonna have a new good horror story every year, right?
Yeah.
So I work primarily in the neighborhood where I live, which is the Northridge neighborhood of Alexandria, right down the street from Drill. And there's a group of townhomes there, and I sell most of the townhomes there. And it was a military family, retired Navy. And they had expanded the back of the house, so largest on the block and kind of an outlier when it comes to pricing that home. But I knew I priced it properly and I told my clients, I said, look, I'm gonna get the same appraisal. It's gonna be this old guy who comes up from the Shenandoah and we talk cars and we laugh and he knows that he looks back at all the comps and he sees my name, so he knows I priced it properly. We're good. We got an appraiser that had just come back to the area from Florida. I don't know if he'd ever lived here, but he was from Florida. He was just newly licensed here. I looked it all up. He sent one of his minions out to take the notes, and then he did the appraisal and just VA appraisal and crushed us. And the 2 agents said, well, there was 2 agents so I'm very particular. Everybody has their own business model. I like to work my area. They work all over. They're all over the map. They're all over Maryland. They're all over Virginia. They have no particular set place to work. And they said, well, we're getting it for the appraised price. No, I said, you said you would waive up to $10,000 in the appraisal. We're not going to sell it for the appraised value. We're way down. We were 70 grand off. It made no sense. And so they were comping houses so this part of Alexandria, I would comp closer to Del Rey and those areas. You have very similar townhomes. They were comping flood zones by 4 Mile Run by Bailey's Crossroads. Like, it made no sense. So we went through the whole Tidewater and, we went back to the VA. But those 2 agents, They didn't, and they were representing another Navy family. So like everyone's kind of coming together on price and good feelings and that sort of thing. Everybody wants the same thing at the end of the day, the transaction to close. These two agents didn't care, and they were trying to blow the deal all the time. And they were going straight to their client saying, just back out, just go away. My client, unbeknownst to me, reached out to the buyers. I told him not to. He reached out to them. In hindsight, it worked out. We figured out that no, they really want the house. So there was only one person, it looked like, that was willing to save this. So I was going to the VA. This poor lady at the VA yelled at me every time I called. I mean, you're not supposed to be calling me. The buyer's supposed to be calling. We're working for the buyers. I said, well, yeah, but the buyer's agent's not doing it. I said, everybody wants this to come together. So I fought for weeks. I was getting yelled at every day by this lady. She was so nice. Like one day she'd be in a good mood. The next hour she's in an awful mood. End of the day, it appraised. So I pulled it all together and made it happen. But the agents were battling me the whole time. I'm talking to the VA, which I'm not supposed to be doing. It was a nightmare. It was one of the worst transactions I ever done. My clients are calling me 4 times a day. They've got a contract on the house. They've got it in Pennsylvania. They've got to get this thing closed. We did it.
That dogwood,
That was on Woodbine.
Woodbine,
It was the
you had 2
biggest
signs
one.
back to back.
I had, yeah,
I
2 signs back.
remember
to back.
that.
That was good.
I remember that too. That's the
So,
way I go to 7-Eleven.
question for John though. John, did VA reappraise or is that what happened?
They adjusted the value.
He did a reconsideration of
A
value.
reconsideration of value, and I sent all the comps. I'm not supposed to do that. I mean, I was just, everything the buyers are, and their agents are supposed to be doing, I had to do. And somehow they let me do it.
Well,
We sweet talked the person at the VA a lot. And I mean, literally 1 hour, she loves me, but she's also telling me to quit calling. And the next hour, she's screaming at me for something else. It worked out. It was a nightmare. And I mean, I was so stressed because I knew these people. They referred other clients to me. That's my neighbor. That's my farm. Yeah, it was the worst. We closed it. So.
And we talked about the other day, the extra mile, right? And how some agents think that the extra mile is doing certain things, but that's the extra mile for your clients, right there. Right, and for yourself in a way, but he didn't have to call every day. Right, and you would think that the agents on the other side would want it to at least appraise somewhere closer to where you could, come up
You
with
would
an
think
agreement.
they'd want to get their commission.
Right.
That's 3%.
All right, so let's shift gears before we go to the Q&A from them and tell us a little bit about like what you're doing on the side with the flip business. I know you do construction too, right?
So I'm trying to segue into construction and commercial development. Generally, I got a problem. I achieve my goals. I get somewhere, I accomplish something. I'm bored. I want something different. I want a different challenge. Instead of continuing on, taking my business to the next level, I kind of like to move on to something different. So that's how I kind of got into the flips. I said, how can I make a few more dollars? And I started focusing on doing the flips. I also started a little insurance business at the same time. So I do mostly commercial insurance for developers that I know, restaurants and things of that nature. I didn't touch on that earlier, but when I went into this business, I was terrified because I was making good money. I said, I'm going to go into something where I have no guarantee. And so I got licensed to do insurance and real estate at the same time. Insurance has been a big waste of time, but I'm a control freak, so I like doing my own policies and helping my friends and stuff like that with their businesses. So the flips were just seemed like a natural progression to me. The first thing I would say is that I realized quickly that I'm not buying anything that's on market. So if it's listed, I'm not going out and competing with anybody to get that house. I'll let somebody else do it. My margins need to be sizable for the flip to be worth my while. So I rely on other agents to bring me my flips or attorneys. That's where I've gotten most of my success, or a hard money lender. So I had for a long time until he retired, I had an estate attorney. Divorce attorneys are the best, by the way. Contentious situations, but divorce attorneys are estate attorneys. You get in good with them, they're going to bring you flips. And I just started buying places. I had actually the first one was brought to me by a commercial real estate agent that works in my area. And he had a guy that was just in a bad financial situation. He needed to get out. And I went and looked at the place to help him list it. And I walked in and I was blown away. He was a hoarder. The place was awful. I said, there's no way this guy he was about to get, it's gonna be a tax lien on this and the house is gonna be sold out for money. I didn't know what to do, so I got help him. So what can I do? So I crunched all the numbers. It's a condo. So and it's a studio and it's not a desirable building. There's gotta be a way I can do it. And this was early on. I mean, this was early on in my career. And I crunched the numbers and I knew enough contractors and handymen. And so let me make them an offer. And so I went to the hard money lender, charged me 2.5 points and about 9-10% interest. I bought it. I think I made 50-60 grand on it. And I sold it for 210,000. So at the end of the day, I did pretty well. I realized that was great. I helped him. Unfortunately, he took the cash, didn't help himself, and bought a camper he's now living in. So I try to give him lots of advice and help him along the way. Sometimes you just can't help people. You can only do so much. But a lot of the flips I've done has been to help people out. I don't try to steal them. I'm not trying to get them for the cheapest price. I also don't buy from wholesalers because I find that to be shady as well. They do an assignable contract, I'm buying it or assignees, and then they just reassign it to you. Well, the person that's selling it just doesn't seem ethical from our standpoint as realtors. So I avoid those, but yeah, I buy them through the state attorneys and things like that. And, I just started focusing more and more on the flips. I really enjoy it. I had to buy 3 as a package deal that were condos. Did really well on that. That was 2 years ago. Completely redeveloped and made the 3 nicest units in was it Horizon House on Army Navy Drive in Arlington. So you gotta go back, look at the historical things, you'll see what I've done there. I do everything really high quality as well. When I bring a client into a house that's been flipped, 9 times out of 10, I'm telling them, don't buy this. Because I can walk in and look, I do these. So I can walk in and say, hey, you don't want this, it's gonna be a nightmare. And now I'm kind of focusing I'm considering getting my Class A so that I can start a construction company. I watched a lot of people do that. They're the ones with the yachts and the houses all over the place. I'm like, that wouldn't be too bad. So I'm kind of thinking about doing that.
We have our resident flipper right here, Dimitar.
Any of that kind of correlate with your thoughts?
Pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So let's ask this, what do you, besides what you just said, what would you look for? If Dimitar passes on a flip that we throw him and I call you, like what do we have? What do we look for?
So I focus on the areas that I go. I need to know that area inside and out. I need to know those numbers. And I want to make sure I'm getting top dollar for it. I'm just looking for something with good bones. That's all, I'm not looking for much. It's just, I need a good solid house in a good location. If the location is at all off and not that desirable, I have no interest. I also even you can go out into some areas close to Tyson's and Falls Church where people are doing big new builds and tear downs and things like that. I just don't know it well enough, so I just don't touch it. So I go to areas that I really know, and I like it to be as light work as possible, mostly finished work, windows and kitchens and beds. And then just, what's the design trend? Keep it pretty basic. Don't do anything that's too fancy, let's say, or too trendy. I would say do something real basic, white subway tile, and some kind of farmhouse type look, or whatever it may be for that property. But yeah, you look for something with good bones and get it off market. That's the most important thing. Get it off market, however you find it, whether it's writing letters, whether it's old school door knocking or whatever it may be, going through the attorneys, however you find it. The stuff that's on market, it's too competitive. So, I'll put it down.
All right. You guys have any questions for John?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So once you find the off market deal, do you buy it through the brokerage or like if an agent brings it to you?
Yeah, it case by case. So if an agent brings it to me, I'll pay, the commission will get paid. Yeah. It's one way or another. It depends on how we structure the contract. What I like to do also, if I can, I'd rather just buy the property from the seller and then I will allow the agent to list. I'll need to list it. So bring me something good, go ahead and list it. You know, that's, because I think that's what's most important, pick your numbers, you know, that's your expertise. And then, you know, if you can bring the buyer and the seller together and just a simple transaction, close in like 2 weeks or whatever it may be, or, you know, if they need a free rent back or, you know, because they gotta get out of the house, they're older, you know, that sort of thing, in time. So many options. That's another thing I like about it. It's like wide open. You can structure these things any way you want.
Andy,
If you're buying these from estate attorneys, where's the agent getting involved in?
Right, so, if I'm buying it from an estate attorney, then it's not. I'm just, yeah, I'm buying it, they're saying, hey, John, I got this property, we need to help them, help the estate sell this. Are you interested in purchasing?
And how many of these deals are you able to do a year?
I average like 2 or 3, not too many. Some years as little as just one really good one. I could handle far more than that. I just, you know, one thing I guess we'll probably touch on is focus on family. And I have a couple of.
I do flips too, that's why I came with.
Yeah, no.
Lots of questions. Do
Yeah,
you learn any of the work yourself? You said you're getting your contractors, nice, but you said you're a control freak, how do you deal with having a contractor?
I have
do work?
very specific guys that I use and I'm like on all the time. When I did these 3 condos over in Horizon House. I lost about 60,000 of the profit I would have made because I wasn't on top of them enough. I was using a contractor. Big mistake was not putting in writing deadlines. He had done other work for me. I trusted him and I just didn't do it. It was amateur hour on my. And, you know, I lost a lot from that, but we also gutted those down to the concrete. They were, so. Go find my TikTok, which is awful and embarrassing stuff on there. Embarrassing in the sense that I'm not good on video. There was a guy named Tom Saris that used to own Orleans House. It was a restaurant in Roslyn. I read this. So he lived down the street with his wife. He had 3 condos in this building. He was somewhat of a playboy. At one point, he had a pier that went out to the Potomac far enough that he could have a casino there with slots. There was $250,000 stolen out of the ceiling by one of his girlfriends there. When you walked into this one, it was 2 units put together. It was a 70s pornographic studio. There was a camera set up. I mean, the thing was wild. I kind of wanted to keep it the way it was and just like, if I could Airbnb and do short-term rental, which I do as well. I do have one, which I'm getting out of, but anyway, the place was incredible. Never seen anything like it. They had to be gutted down to the concrete. But yeah, well, those 3 is a package deal, and unfortunately, I didn't stay on the contractors well enough. You know, that was somewhere where I learned that I was not as much in control for because I needed to be. Normally my guys, I'm right there all the time. I'm over at the project. Right now, I'm getting ready to tear my house down for the most part, keep 3 walls and redo it. And put my dream for this particular property together. And I'm going to be there every day. So when my architect told me, he goes, you're going to be there every day. I said, I know. And so I rented a place 5 doors down. So every day, keep walking over there.
So
I gotta repeat her question, so it goes on the video. Okay.
if you have enough cash to buy that investment with property cash, what's the percentage you invest in buying it? Because you need most of your cash for renovation, right?
So
Or you can buy cash as well.
I can. I choose not to. I still go to my hard money lender. I like to keep my cash where it is. So I have it with an investment banker. I like it to be there. He's really good. It's there. I've actually taken all of my money for the most part and put it into a trust for my girls and just a small amount for myself set aside. So my hard money lender in particular usually wants 20% down. He wants to see that you got some skin in the game. I have others that don't require anything out of pocket. So usually I'm putting about 20% down, and then they will either give me the costs for the renovation, so give me draws, or I'll just use my cash. Or if I feel like it, my wife hates it, I'm just striking credit cards nonstop and paying them off and getting points. Probably not the best way, but you know, if you're getting 100,000 points through a renovation, it's like
Sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah, if you like to try.
What else? Dimitar?
What's your average turnover time-wise?
About 90 days. It's, the three condos that I keep referencing, that went on over a year. Like that was a nightmare, but most of my stuff, about 90 days. Depending on the project.
When you were first getting into the business, how did you establish relationships with trusted contractors?
So I have a lot of friends that are builders, and I was getting their subs. And some licensed, some not, but depending on what I'm doing. And that's worked out well, and sometimes it hadn't. I brought in some guys to do demo on a project, and they work for a very reputable commercial builder. Mainly does schools in the District of Columbia. They have an office in Georgetown. That's all I'll say about them, but I used one of their subs. And that was a nightmare, but I was able to bring some of my other guys and quickly fix it with the proper architect. So yeah, I basically got everybody through builders that I know.
Okay.
And I use the same people now for everything. And some have gone on to get their Class A construction licenses as well. So that's really helpful. Any scale of a project I can do.
Earlier you say your business, it dips a little bit. And was it intentional so that you could spend time with your family, or you don't want to hire assistants, just reduce the next spend that time, whatever you need to do with your family?
Touched on all of it. So number one is that I wanted to focus more on the flips because I enjoyed it. Number two, the important part was family. We have a 5-year-old and twin 3-year-olds. We wanted one more. We didn't have a say in that. We went into the office, they said we're having 2 more. And then it was a very complicated pregnancy. And so this is really what shifted my gears. My wife had to go to Fairfax Hospital once a week and to Hopkins once a week. And it was very scary. But we decided to have the twins, and one of them has cerebral palsy. And, she's sharp as a tack, funny as can be. Maybe my favorite. I don't know. It's tough to say. A 5-year-old is pretty cool. But anyway, I focused a lot on her. So in the early stages of cerebral palsy at this young age, physical therapy and occupational therapy are extremely important, because if you want her to walk, now's the time. And so I take her up to Johns Hopkins once a week for a special type of physical therapy. And then unfortunately, our amazing therapist that has had the most impact is in Old Town, and she's retiring in March. So I take her there 3 times a week, and I am going to Boston in May for intensive therapy that I'll be there for 3 weeks. So a lot of it is to focus on her and get her where she needs to be. I'm fortunate enough that I've worked hard over the years and have the ability to do that. And I think that is what's most important. My wife wants me to work with her, so don't use it as an excuse. So we'll see what happens this year. It should be a fun. That the kind of answer, yeah, it's threefold. There's a lot.
That's exactly what I was gonna say next, is we were gonna talk about the family. So thank you for that, Lucina. Even though we're with different companies, right? He's with Compass. Our motto is God, family, business, right? And I watched him put the family first. I remember, not pertaining to his daughters, but there's an ambulance and fire truck in front of your house. And I look out the door, I come running out it's cold. I'm in shorts and barefoot, because I was like, what the hell's going on? Right. But it was nothing, but still, he's there. And he's worked hard enough in the beginning and throughout the year, and then found another pillar to his business that allows him to do these things and spend that time. Right. And that's why I wanted him to come here today to talk about that. And he could do 20 million in 2025 once all of that's done, if he wanted to, because he works in the referral business, where you can call someone and say, hey, sorry you haven't heard from me. I've been doing this, this, and this. I just want you to know I'm still here if you got any, whatever. You need a plumber or whatever. You know how we talk about earning referral business. So that's why I wanted him to come here today. Do you guys have any other questions for him?
John, how many flips do you do a year?
Yeah, anywhere from 1 to 3 on average. 2 to 3 is fine for me. I would, I'd enjoy scaling it up, and we'll see what happens this year. Whether I focus more on getting into the construction aspect of it and then taking on bigger projects, or see what happens, but yeah.
And what do you net on each flip?
It all depends, but I never less than 50, maybe 100, 150, sometimes even about 200.
Got some questions in the live chat. Well, you guys, I'm gonna go to it.
I have one more question. When looking for your flip deals, do you do any active like lead generating yourself? That's all.
Right. Active lead generating. I don't know, I've gone to all the training classes. I don't know what I do. I just, it just doesn't, it doesn't work for me. I've tried all the steps, it just doesn't happen. And that's why I work on a referral for everything else. I just, I make my calls to the people I know and I hope the business comes to me, but no, a lot of it is just brought to me, or it's, it's through people I know in the neighborhood. I'm on the board for the Northbridge Citizens Association, so I have that in there. I sponsor a lot of their stuff in their charity.
I mean, there's only one agent that sold more homes in that neighborhood than him. Just saying. Just saying.
You guys can run those numbers.
I mean,
Run those numbers yourself.
I only sold the same house 3 times next to me. Just saying. Yeah, somebody had a question. No, I'm just giving them a hard time.
Did you first connect with these attorneys who bring you all these folks?
The first one was my hard money lender, actually. And when I was trying to get into it, I said, okay, I know this is what you do. And he's like, great, I got somebody for you, let me put you in touch. He's retired, so now I'm kind of moving on to find somebody else. She'll bring that stuff to me.
Let me share something about John and how he does things, right? It's having a big heart, but being intentional, right? The people across from me bought a house without using either one of us, and the person that lived there was stupid and used an agent that wasn't us, right? It was neither one of us. Well, the agent neglected the grass, right? The people moved, they were in the military, remember, they moved, and the grass was 6, 7 inches high. And John calls up his landscaper, right, and says, hey, look, I don't even know these people, but they're moving into our neighborhood. Can you clean this grass up? Right? Now he's friends with them, and you guys drink bourbon I'm sure that when the time comes to sell the house, he's gonna get the listing if they move.
100%.
But not because he didn't do that because I hope to get the listing, right? You can be intentional with your heart and still earn business, right?
Well, I'll say, I've never chased a commission. When I see somebody that you can tell is just looking for the commission, I see somebody they're not doing it. Focus on taking care of everybody around you. The commission for everything. Every facet of any business. It's like, just focus on the good stuff, take care of people. The rest comes back. That's work your network and work your neighborhoods. Like, that's the easiest. Whether it comes to finding flips or just finding listings. I say that because I haven't been successful in the generation. All the marketing I paid a ton of money to luxury presence for this big website, all this SEO stuff. I didn't get a lead ever. They promised me the world. Not one lead through that.
Now he's with
Focus on everything.
he's with Compass, so some of his marketing is taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Now, when, no offense, my guy, but when I get the stuff from you and all the other Compass agents, it all looks the same, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter to him because it doesn't matter where he hung his license, his heart leads the way. And by cutting that grass, and then he did go on social media and say, hey, this is what I do. I hook these people up across from me. That's smart, right? We would all do that, but he didn't have to do that, right? He works the neighborhood very well.
Let the people that know you and see you, show them what you're doing. Whether it's social media, whether it's just making calls or saying hi in the neighborhood and walking the neighborhood. That's really all that's ever worked for me.
If you want to see something funny in our neighborhood, park a moving truck in front of a house and see which one of us runs over there faster. Right? Remember when they were moving at 1305? I beat you to that one, and then they already had a realtor. But no, it's all in fun. But no, it's just being intentional. I watch him work the neighborhood. He's got young kids that can play with the other young kids. He does a great job. And to be able to focus on his family and focus on his daughter and take her to places like that is because he was intentional and he's still intentional. If someone calls him today that he hadn't heard from in 2 years and says, will you list my house? He's earned that. He's earned the fact that he hasn't talked to them in 2 years because he's probably done something for them along the way, or they know who he is.
Another one. You got kids? Be the parent that goes to all the birthday parties. All the birthday parties. I'm at every single one. And I don't care if it's one of those germ infested scramble places, the soft play rooms, or whatever it is. I'm just there with my sanitizer and I'm talking to the parents and hanging out. I think that is great too. Actually, the only advertising I do is in my daughter's school calendar. I bought, the first year I did it, I was able to get 11 out of 12 months. And I'm like, everybody in school, when they're looking at that calendar and using it, there's John Winstead every single day. Hasn't worked either. But, you know, I'm continuing on and over time it will. We spend a lot of time doing that. And it's nice too, because I get to do it with my dog.
Just a quick question. If you could, just, tell me, so you're not a big fan of rental generally, or you just don't like the Airbnb? If you could explain.
She asked about Airbnb for those that are online and couldn't hear.
I do not like my. I have, because Airbnb supports the guest. So I've had people come in and destroy my house. I had a group, their sales manager from Texas used his good reviews to send his salespeople from Florida and Texas, 4 or 5 young people in their 20s, to rent the place and kind of party in DC. I was out of town, I come back, my cleaners had gone through, they said, oh, it's a bit messy, I go in. Artwork, gone, just gone. I don't know whether it was broken or what happened, but like, stuff gets destroyed all the time.
DC.
I would probably, if you can do a rental, like long-term rental, great. Airbnb, if you focus on the longer term stuff, it is good. You build your own brand with that, and then you get your own website and you get off Airbnb is the best way because all the fees and stuff. It's labor intensive. Like when I first started doing it, I thought I could clean it myself. Number one, that was disgusting. My wife said, what are you doing? I'm inherently cheap. Like when I buy my collector cars, I buy them because they don't depreciate. I lease new cars. I don't buy them because they depreciate. So I like nice things, but I buy things that don't depreciate. And so I'm in there like scrubbing and cleaning. Finally, I got a great cleaning crew and everything's nice. But there's still a lot of little things that I always have to go check on. Fortunately, it's right in my neighborhood, so it's okay. I just personally don't like it. Yet I have a farm in North Carolina and we're getting ready to do another Airbnb down there with our houses. So for better or for worse, it's okay. Long-term rentals are much better.
Any thoughts or questions before I let him go? No? You guys good? Yes, sir.
What's your take on investing on tax lien properties?
It can be competitive. I tried it. I tried doing it a lot in DC and you can get lists. I even went as far as I had some attorneys that would pull the lists for me. And they would find all these properties that were coming available. And I was knocking on those doors. I was calling people. At one point I found one that an heir to an estate had no idea that her parents had ever owned. They had passed away and she didn't even know. And by then, you know, everything had kind of, it didn't work out, but I've tried that. I was never really successful with this. But you know, if you want to go down the courthouse steps and bid on it, it's similar to it being on market to me. And I feel like there are guys that are willing to do it for a much smaller margin than I. You know, margin has been different, but yeah, you can score some good ones, I'm sure.
Anything else? All right, guys. Well, thank you, John. Thank you, my guy.
Thank you all for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.